Okay, so suppose you wanted to see Dear White People. The date arrives, right? You sit down to watch, or hopefully binge watch. So what's going to happen next? You go to your TV, and the first thing you're going to see is what we call the list of movies, or LOLAMO for short. And this is actually a curated list that we produced for each of you individually of content that we think might be of interest. So at the top here, you'll have originals that we're trying to pitch that we think you might be interested in watching. There'll be things that you're currently watching that we think you might want to go back to, or there'll be additional content down below that. Now, it turns out that since we actually compute this list every night for everybody, all of our 18+ million customers, we actually will change the order of the rows depending on what it was you watched recently and what we think you might want to watch next. You'll find that in general, if you're going to select a movie, you'll probably select something in the first 4 to 6 rows that you see. So we'll load those really fast, and then we'll, in the background, load the rest of them. But that's all part of us trying to personalize your experience so that you get the best experience you can watching Netflix. So let's say you pick a movie you want to watch, in this case, Luke Cage. Here you get the movie details page. And this now lets you explore things about the movie, who's in the cast, other episodes you might want to watch in the future. It also will give you some suggestions of content that is related to the thing that you're watching. Again, something that we will compute for you based on your viewing habits, based on people around you and what they've liked, et cetera. But the most important thing is here you have the play button, which is the thing that you actually have been looking for. Now, when you press that play button, what we see is a thing that we call a stream start, because you actually started streaming the movie. Now, stream starts are an amazingly reliable way of figuring out what's happening with our service. They essentially follow the sun. So during prime time, stream starts go up. In the middle of the night, stream starts go down. And in fact, they're so reliable that we can use them to figure out if something has gone wrong with the service. So for instance, if PlayStation 4 stream starts suddenly fall off a cliff, then alarms will start going off. We'll start checking to see if there's a problem with PlayStation 4s. The other thing that's interesting about stream starts is that it tells us a lot about what's happening in the real world. So for instance, a couple of days ago, we knew that there was a soccer match that started in Brazil because the stream starts in Brazil all fell. And for all of you parents out there with kids, Saturday mornings, you get your kids up, put them in front of the TV, start Netflix, we see that. So in the background, the way this all works is we're all inside the Amazon cloud. We're in 3 regions around the world. We run over 100,000 virtual machines, over 800,000 cores. Now, similar to the stream starts, the number of cores that we run climbs during the day and goes down at night. So over the course of about 48 hours, we will create and destroy enough virtual machines to rebuild the NASA Pleiades supercomputer, which is about 250,000 cores. So you can imagine that's essentially building a huge data center every other night and destroying it every other night. And that allows us to scale up as the load scales from people watching movies. Now, the way that you'll see the world is you will come to Netflix.com through your TV or whatever, and our traffic people will send you off to one of the 3 data centers that we use. Now, they're all redundant, which means that if one of them were to fail for some reason or have some problem, we can actually divert traffic to one of the others. So what we wind up doing in order to test that is about once a month or so, we throw the big switch, and we shut down one of the regions and divert all the traffic to the other 2 regions. Now, the thing to observe is that you actually never read about this in the newspaper. So we actually do this kind of behind the scenes. We stay that way for about 24 hours, and then we switch back. Now, inside the bubbles on the edge here, we have what we call microservices, which actually provide the service on the back end. And you may be thinking, well, what does that all look like? Well, we've got a lot of microservices. So this is kind of what puts the whole service together. You enter over here on the that arrow. So the thing that's nice about microservices is that they also scale up and scale down with our load. They're all independent of each other to a certain extent, so if one of them fails, another one kind of picks up the slack. They understand if things fail either upstream or downstream of them, and they can respond to that. The goal being that we can always deliver you an experience no matter what's going on at our end. So the worst case is a data center fails. The easy case is that one of our microservices fails, but we can still go going. Now, this is actually a more simplified view of this. As it turns out, every device doesn't use every service on that last page. A single device will only use a subset of them, but we do have a few key services, and you can see the white dot here is one of them. That's called API prod, and basically every TV device will go through there, talk to the services on the back end, the responses will come back, and they go back through API prod back out to your device. Now, that service will wind up replacing on the order of 4 or 5 times a week, again, seamlessly. And actually, the internal device endpoints there will replace several times a day, putting in new features, fixing bugs, et cetera. And again, the architecture is designed so we can do this without disturbing your ability to actually watch movies. Now, this incredibly simplified view of everything else I've just talked about, I have up here because I want to point out 2 other interesting things. As part of the experience that you get, we will also do a bunch of testing on you because we're all basically just guinea pigs in this world. And we'll run some A/B tests to try to determine what experience is best for our customers. We can be continuously sort of modifying the user experience based on, okay, you clicked on more movies when we presented it to you this way, right? So we will now have that experience. The other thing I want to point out is that in terms of the size of some of the services on our back end, the video metadata service over there delivers all the box art to you that you see. So on the Lolomo, you'll see a bunch of pictures of things, or if you're on your phone, you'll see a bunch of pictures of movies. That service at peak can respond to about 1.3 trillion requests a minute, and it's got over 200 million images, because we need to have the images set up for every different device and different sizes, et cetera. So that gives you a sense of some of the scale that we have here. The next thing is, once you actually pressed play, we need to make sure you have the rights to be able to watch the show that you want to watch. Turns out rights are different all around the world, so you may not be able to watch certain shows in certain countries. And then the other thing we do is that we log stuff. The business is very data-driven. We keep track of everything that goes on. We log about 5 petabytes worth of data a day, and then the engineering groups can then go back through that data to see how the service is performing and work to improve it and make it go faster. And in fact, my job as a manager of performance and operating systems is to figure out how to make the service go faster so it's better for all of you. So finally, after all of that, your movie actually starts to play. And Tia is actually going to talk to you about how that all works and how we actually stream things to you.